Okay, it's about that time. We're gonna do a tier list update. Did you like the last one? A lot of you didn't, and you really let me know. And you know what? I agree. We made some mistakes. We're gonna make some more bad takes. Let's see how it goes, because I do have some hot takes. I don't know if they're the best, but we're gonna talk about them. So let's start by correcting the biggest mistake that I made last time. Let's talk about Miyabi. Miyabi absolutely deserves to be at the top almost by herself. Miyabi is very good because she's got massive AoE. She's got so many team options. And I really want to stress this so many team options thing. Miyabi is a character who can essentially be the rock for an account. Generally, you will almost always have a good Miyabi team available, or a good enough Miyabi team available. Miyabi is also great at doing Lost Void. She's great at farming. She's great. Only complaint, there aren't more characters like her. This is Ellen. I don't know if I was mean enough to Ellen last time. Ellen is either gonna go in SS or S. One or the other, I'm not sure which. We're gonna start with her here, and we can move her down as needed. Now, Ellen, she has a lot of team overlap with Miyabi, and that's the problem, because she just doesn't do Miyabi damage. That's really the biggest problem. A lot of people don't know how to build Sokaku correctly or how to play Sokaku, which is fair, but that also applies even more so to Miyabi, where Sokaku is technically more important for the Lycaon Sokaku team. Things that Ellen has that Miyabi does not. Lighter Astra is a team that is viable for Ellen. I believe it is Ellen's current best team, actually. Now, the problem with that is Ellen is not necessarily better there than Soldier 11. Soldier 11 reporting for duty. Ellen's a little better, but is she? Soldier 11 is the most support-dependent DPS, basically, period. And it's problematic because she is on the standard banner, and she's pretty aggressively bad without supports. The best Soldier team is Astra Lighter, but as we're going to get to, Soldier is not the best DPS in that team. Neither is Ellen. And you really, really do need... Okay, need is a strong word. You really, really want Lighter. He's a very, very strong fire buffer and ice buffer. He's somewhat important to make Soldier 11 perform. Soldier 11 is here on her performance in her best in slot team alone. If you do not have Soldier's best in slot team, just drop her down. Just one of the other. Other things that are good about Soldier: she's one of the game's only fire DPS agents. There are now 3 major ways to do fire damage: Burnice, Evelyn, and Soldier 11. And Soldier 11 is basically the worst of the 3. This is Skishiro Yanagi. She's all right. She's all right. She's all right. I think you could argue Yanagi is our current best electric DPS. You know what? I will argue that. Yanagi is our current best electric DPS. Even if you play her without another anomaly agent, she's very good. She's able to hold her own. As HP gets more difficult, this may be harder for Yanagi to manage, but she's very useful in Deadly Assault for the Typhon boss. One of my, I guess, go-to teams for dealing with the Typhon Destroyer in Deadly Assault is Yanagi Caesar Rina, because it doesn't take a lot of in-demand supports and it clears. It's also very easy to play. Yanagi has taken on a bit of a second life, a bit of a first life, because it's her most common use case. I don't know. Many people just use Yanagi as a Miyabi support. Yanagi is very good with Miyabi. There are teams that are equally good, like Astra, Nicole, and Sokaku Lycaon, and to a lesser extent, Lucy Lighter. These are all relatively similar performing Miyabi teams within some margin. So Yanagi is not a must-use partner for Miyabi, which is the biggest mark against her, but it's also good. Okay, it's a good thing about Miyabi more than it is a good thing about Yanagi. Yeah, essentially. I do think Yanagi herself, as in my opinion, the current strongest electric DPS, holds her own in this tier for now. And I'm comfortable sticking with it. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna try to do more Zenless content. More Genshin content is coming. Did you know most of you watching are not currently subscribed? You should subscribe. All right, let's talk about Harumasa. I do have to say, Harumasa is better than Ellen in Soldier 11. Harumasa is a agent who a lot of people underrate, including me, to be honest. He's very good. It's not about difficulty to play. It's about points of failure. If it's just knowing what combo to do, that's easy. The problem with Harumasa is because his manual chain setups are a little bit fickle and difficult to use because of how he works. They're very easy to mess up completely by accident. Even if you're very good at playing Harumasa, it will still happen every now and then. So you can dock him points for that. But I am very comfortable putting Harumasa above Ellen. I'm very comfortable putting Harumasa above Soldier 11. If you want to call him support dependent, you can say he's very Qingyi dependent. There are like 2 Qingyi DPSs, Harumasa and Zhen. I'm gonna go out on a limb. People may disagree with me for saying this. I think Zhen's a little bit better. 1, she's easier to play. 2, she kind of does more damage. Sort of. It's very complicated. There's a lot of tech that you can execute for Zhen and Harumasa to get damage out of them. And the ways to optimize Zhen's gameplay are actually more unknown or less publicized. But Zhen Qingyi teams they're a speed running staple if the enemy is electric weak. I think Zhen is still very good. Yeah, if you want to say Zhen is not worth the pulls because she is so similar to Harumasa, I agree. Zhen also has a new team in version 1.5, which is Astra Nicole. Astra Nicole is a kind of generic team option for many agents, but some agents are better in it than others. Technically, agents that really benefit from this are kind of funnily Qingyi as a DPS, Zhen, Miyabi, and I've seen some really fun Corin tech where you keep using her quick assist because it's a very long animation. Also, honorable mention to Anton. Astra Nicole, it's really funny. It's really, really funny, and it's really effective. It's like hilariously effective. I think Anton is better there than Harumasa. It's really funny. I'm not gonna put him up a tier. Actually, no, I am gonna put him up a tier because of it. It's a bit of a meme comp, but it's effective. The biggest problem with Anton is Harumasa is free and basically better, strictly. Even if you don't know how to play Harumasa, he's better than Anton. It's really hard to justify building and playing Anton now, but he does have a viable meme comp. He does have a very viable meme comp. I think I'm gonna put Zhen up for now, and we'll see if we want to move her down as the tiers populate. Because I reserve the right to slide a lot of agents down. We'll see how this goes. This is Billy. People love Billy. Billy fell off. This is Neko. No one plays Neko. I don't really have anything else to say. I'm sorry, the Billy mains disappeared. They stopped being able to easily kill stuff and they vanished. Yeah, no one wants to touch Neko. Soldier 11 has basically the hardest train attack to use effectively, and Neko has a lot of the same issues as Soldier 11 and a lot of these 1.0 characters where their hitboxes are very small and their auto target isn't very good at covering distance. It's a problem. Soldier 11's chain attack being so narrow makes wave 1s in Shu so temperamental. It's not fun. It's just not a fun time. This is Corin. She's another Fizz DPS. She's very cute. I'll try to do some damage. She has another quick assist spam comp with Astra Nicole that is effective enough. I've seen pretty decent clears. I've seen a 41k Astra Nicole Corin on the Twin Marionettes. Anyway, that's Corin. I'll try to make the guy clean. I made it on my tier list. Okay, so this is Jane Doe. This is Piper Wheel. Jane and Piper have really been proving to be very comparable. I do want to mention it's been very hard to get Jane to be performative without Burnice, or even in general somewhat. You can scapegoat a bit and say, the reason Jane hasn't been very performative is because of a lack of Fizz Week content. And I agree, it's problematic. If you want to factor build up and damage from resistance stuff, it's like a 40% DPS increase that Jane is losing out on. But the content itself is just biased against Fizz. There's not a single Fizz Week boss in Deadly Assault. And by the time we get a Fizz Week boss, it'll probably come with a new Fizz DPS. Let's be honest. Jane might be on borrowed time. It's odd because she's pretty cool. She's very easy to play. People really vehemently pushed for Jane. Jane has really high solo damage is something you see. Doesn't really matter to me. Jane's not doing too hot in the current update. Could Jane do better in the future? Yeah, absolutely. But right now, she's not doing too hot. That's also the biggest difference between Jane and Piper. Jane does more damage. Piper makes Burnice and Lucy do more damage, who are common partners. The best performing Jane teams are teams with Burnice and Burnice Disorder, to the point where you can say Jane and Piper are straight up dependent on Burnice to really easily clear content. So that's why we're putting Burnice up here. Now, you can feel free to interpret this as Burnice as a support instead of Burnice as a DPS. Previously, I've put Burnice on the support tier list. We're going to try to put her on the DPS tier list and hope people don't get the wrong idea and play mono fire Burnice, hopefully. Part of that is also because there are 2 Fire Week Deadly Assault bosses. There is Fire Week content in the current Shiyu lineups and the ones for the rest of the update. It will slowly disappear over the next update as we get the electric agents. So we'll see a lot of electric and ice and ether. Yes, Burnice is like an anomaly support who does damage. Jane and Piper are very dependent on Burnice to the point where it's a thing. They're very dependent on Burnice. DPS Sokaku hasn't been coming up as much. It's still pretty good. It's still pretty similar to Ellen. I'm not comfortable putting it higher on the list though. Yeah, we're gonna put her next to Anton. Should we move Billy up? Does Billy get moved up? People love Billy. We're gonna move up Billy. People love him. There are people who insist on playing Billy. There are not people who insist on playing Neko. There are people who insist on playing Corin. We're gonna keep her there though. This is Ben. I have no idea what Ben is. Is Ben a DPS? Is Ben a support? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what Ben does. I don't know what Ben is supposed to do. I really don't get it. Ben is bigger. Yeah, I really don't have anything else to say about Ben. I don't quite get it. All right, this is Grace. What even is Grace? I don't know. She's A tier. Is Grace a DPS? Is Grace a support? She's good at neither. Grace is A tier. Yes, I am salty about my Mindscape Cinema level 8 Grace. What about it? You can play her as a cope option with Miyabi. I don't think Miyabi gives a shit. Miyabi has so many teams. It doesn't even matter. Oh yeah, also worth mentioning, next update will debut the Hollow Zero modifiers for Corin, Jane, Evelyn, and Astra. So those characters will be buffed in Lost Void as those get released. Let's make some adjustments to the list first. I am not comfortable having Jane and Piper on the same tier as Ellen, right? Also, I'm really thinking about this. Do I want to move Zhu Yuan down? Is Zhu Yuan a full tier better than Harumasa? There's a lot of ether weakness around. She's super threshold impact. She's super threshold dependent. I don't know if I agree with Zhu Yuan a full tier above Harumasa. I think I'm just gonna do it because she's easier to play and she's just straight up better in double support. We'll go with that. She's also currently the only ether DPS. I also don't think there's a full tier between Yanagi and Zhu Yuan. Yeah, we'll go with this. Yeah, you know what? We'll go with this. I like this. All right, time for the hottest take in the West. This is Evelyn. This is the first character that competes with Miyabi. Evelyn is super support dependent. If you wanted the comparison, Miyabi is much more likely to be better on more accounts. Miyabi is more of the rock of an account. If you have Lighter and Astra, Evelyn is absolutely up here right now. Maybe that's because Miyabi is missing a teammate. Maybe Miyabi's final team will end up being something like Astra Vivian, and it'll be like that much better than everything. But for now, this character is competitive. She needs supports. If you do not have Lighter, move 1 tier down. If you do not have Astra, move 1 tier down. Okay, you know what? Actually, I lied. If you do not have Lighter, move 1 tier down. If you do not have Astra, stay in that tier. If you have both, absolutely up at the top. If you have Lighter but no Astra, move 1 down. You can also complain that Evelyn is too Astra dependent because of the damage you gain from Astra's ultimate being chain attacks, which Evelyn benefits the most from of any agent currently. This is why Evelyn is extremely support dependent. How do I phrase this? Soldier 11 with Astra Lighter is similar to Evelyn with one of them or neither of them. So she's kind of like Soldier 12, Soldier 13. She kind of leapfrogs Soldier 11, essentially. But yes, currently I am of the opinion Evelyn is more than competitive with Miyabi. And here's the other thing. We're gonna talk about the elephant in the room with Lighter. He is the lowest owned character. He is the character everyone skipped. A DPS being dependent on him is kind of questionable. That's also why we aren't valuing Soldier 11. Pulling Lighter to make Soldier 11 better is a really questionable proposition. That's also why we didn't have a very positive assessment, or why we didn't have such a glowing assessment of Lighter when he released, because the agents he was supporting were Ellen and Soldier 11, and you can see where they are on the tier list. As we get more fire and ice agents, he gets better as we get better and better agents. But also, those agents could literally be irrelevant by the time he reruns. It's really, really, really unfortunate that Lighter isn't rerunning while he is currently relevant. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. So I hope they rush out a rerun for him. That'd be very nice. But because of that, I don't know how much I recommend getting Evelyn without both Astra and Lighter. I don't know. Fire damage is kind of hard to come by, so it's really difficult. It's difficult for me. I also really like Evelyn. But yeah, feel free to make fun of me in 6 months when Vivian is just this mind-blowingly good Ether Anomaly agent. That makes Miyabi blow past anything that was previously competitive. You know what? I'll take it. Am I coping? Or are you coping? So yes, this is where my current thought process on a DPS tier list is. You still think GN is sneaking up? I agree. I think it's fine. The GN placement is probably the thing I disagree the most with. Looking at this, I disagree the most with the GN. I think I'm gonna stand by it. And I know a lot of people don't like the Harumasa is actually pretty good take. And you know what? You're wrong. Harumasa is a very confident character. He's just so jank. He wants to play on manual mode, but he's by far the hardest manual character, period. He wants to play with Astra, but he has no AoE, so you need Nicole anyway. He's got a lot of problems. Harumasa has got a lot of problems. It's unfortunate because he is pretty good damage-wise, and he's basically here on damage alone. Support agents. Now, if you're not familiar, we combine support, stun, and we used to add off-field damage because off-field damage is an attribute that is desirable out of support agent. Now let's talk about support agents. Where should we just get the elephant out of the room? No, I'm not talking about Miyabi. Not that kind of elephant. This is the Void Hunter. She stands 170 centimeters tall. She is a best in slot on almost every team. Yes. This is the elephant we're talking about. We're talking about Astra. Get Miyabi out of here. Shoot. We just talked about you. Be gone. Yeah, this is Astra. Yeah, Astra's great. She enables quick assist. She gives a ton of attack. She gives crit damage. She holds Astral Voice. Good set. People complain that Astra doesn't have a presence in the team. I question what game they're playing. I think it's impossible to not notice Astra and what she does, to the point where when you play teams without Astra, you think, wait, where's Astra? Wait, where are my quick assists? What's going on? Where's the music? Excuse me? That honestly is the reaction to not have Astra. The weakness about Astra is One, there's only one of her. Two, she doesn't have Decibel Generation. You get 2 Astra ults in a Deadly Assault clear. Barely. The last one comes up at the last possible moment. You also will generally do a lot less daze damage when Astra is in the team because she doesn't do any daze, or she barely does any daze. She barely does any daze. Her Decibel Generation is very bad. She technically buffs attack agents more than she buffs anomaly agents because she gives crit damage. And also her ultimate enables chain attacks, which are a little questionable for a lot of characters. In the sense that if you decide to use Astra's ult in a stun window, you can potentially miss out on most of your stun damage because you spend so much time in chains instead of doing the things that you actually need to do to get your damage off. So it's not that there aren't holes with Astra. It's just that her buffs are so good, they don't matter right now. She's kind of just better than everyone else. Bonus perk about Astra, her engine sucks. Kaboom the Cannon and Bashful Demon are essentially just as good and debatably better sometimes. Oh, her Anomaly app is also terrible. She'll proc Ether Anomaly once per clear. Impressive. Yeah, her Anomaly app is also terrible. So yeah, Astra is not a bulletproof support, but she is the best one. I understand pointing out Astra's weaknesses is not something people do very often, but she does have them. They do exist. They just aren't relevant, which is really the key point. Astra's weaknesses are not relevant. She is so good anyway that it doesn't really matter. It just doesn't really matter. There are a couple agents that I think are competitive in like their usefulness with Astra. Maybe I'm giving Nicole too much credit, but 1, she's free. 2, she groups enemies. She makes Harumasa not feel terrible. 3, she's free. And she's not Astra. And you can play her with Astra, and it makes a lot of teams better. Nicole is super difficult agent to play optimally. I don't know if people know this about Nicole. Her debuff actually has an indicator, and it's not only applied on her EX special, it's also applied by her basic attacks. You know how you normally look for buffs on the top left of the screen where your agent HP is? And some buffs are there, like Lucy's attack buff has an indicator there. Yeah, if you look on the opposite side of the screen that you've literally never looked at before, when Nicole attacks an enemy with her basic attack or EX special, chain, or ult, there's a little briefcase debuff that appears under the enemy HP bar. So there is an indicator. Most people don't know it exists because why would you look at the enemy HP bar in the top right of the screen? Why would you look at that? But yes, there is an indicator for it. The grouping makes so many agents that feel miserable otherwise much more performative in Shield Defense Wave 1. She's free. Everyone has Nicole. Her damage is relevant. Her skin's kind of ugly, I agree. But the skin was also free. The voice lines on the skin are great. I love the new voice lines. I don't like the skin, but I really like the new voice lines. Maybe I'm giving Nicole too much credit, but I don't think I am. I think Nicole deserves to be on the same tier as Astra. Yeah, we'll go with it. People don't know how to play. Yeah, Nicole is difficult to play. If you don't know how to play her, and you don't know how to apply her debuffs, and you don't know to apply her debuffs, Nicole moves down. But if you are very into min-maxing gameplay, Nicole's up. Nicole's up with Astra. I'm gonna go with it. Do you know the current best Miyabi team is Astra Nicole with Freedom Blues Nicole, Anomaly Mastery slot 6? Who's a Yanagi? Who's a... More like Yana Craft. Oh! To be honest, that combo is almost the best in slot for every DPS. You know where it's absolutely not? There's essentially one agent who can break that team, who gives enough buffs to break the team. He's a pretty chill guy. This is Lighter. Lighter just gives a lot of buffs. He gives so many buffs that he breaks the Astra Nicole team for the agents who can run Lighter. If you can run Lighter Astra, you would rather run Lighter Astra than Astra Nicole. I think that's enough for him to have the slot because I don't know if anyone else is able to accomplish that. I don't know if any other supports can break that team. I'm going to keep it 100% real. Yeah, he's pretty dependent on his engine for his buffs. If you don't have his engine, the alternatives are Restrained or the Steam Oven. His engine is about 10%. So it's kind of... He is less His engine is less good than Trigger's, sort of. It's also the highest impact engine for him, so it's not exactly 10% per Astal. Kind of wrong about that because of the days difference, but it's fine. But yeah, Lighter is great in Shield Defense. Lighter is great in Deadly Assault, which is really the thing. If we want to talk about Qingyi, Qingyi is not very good in Deadly Assault, and that's her biggest weakness. We Lighters have no weakness, besides literally only buffing 2 characters. We can quickly touch on Mindscape since we're talking about Qingyi. Qingyi has a great M1, Astra has a great M1, Lighter has a great M1, M2. Qingyi M2 is also great. Astra's M2 is technically not as good as their M1, but it's still quite good. Mindscapes exist. Don't be afraid to pull them if you really like playing agents. They can get you more out of a team. If you want to say Qingyi is more generic than Lighter, so you think she is better, I think that's based. I think her buffs aren't as potent. Support is technically only as good as the DPSs they're supporting, and Evelyn is really strong right now. If Evelyn didn't exist, yeah, Lighter down. If the best DPSs for Qingyi weren't currently, or were currently better than Harumasa Jian, yeah, Qingyi up. We'll go with it. Qingyi, I think Qingyi has earned her place here. She's not super best in slot, but she is flexible. A lot of people really love Qingyi. She's super comforting. Why Nicole over Lighter? She's more useful on more teams. Did you know Lighter only buffs 2 elements? The standard agent, who I would previously have been willing to say is the worst, but she almost has a use case now. Maybe I'm getting ahead. Yeah, I guess we're kind of jumping ahead. We're gonna go with it. This is Koleda. Is Koleda this game's Qingyi? Okay, think about it this way. Qingyi, Barbara, Natasha, Bilo. Which standard agents have a direct free 4-star character that is directly similar? Anby and Koleda. Koleda is basically this game's Qingyi. I'm sorry. I want to point it out. Yeah, currently Koleda has a admittedly questionable use case where she's a super budget option. So currently I'm going to put Koleda 1 tier above the bottom. Next time we do the tier list, she will probably be on the bottom. Complete honesty. A rank Anby, literally all she does is days. Kind of need to do more. I respect it. I respect Anby. I wish she was better. I wish they didn't have to make S rank Anby. Anby is really cute. Have I mentioned this before? I think I'd be willing to pay for a skin that replaces S rank Anby with A rank Anby, because I think it's that much of a better design. I'd be willing to pay for it. I think the base Anby design is great, but yeah, I think A rank Anby she only does days. She just doesn't do anything. And if you try to do a lot with her, it's really questionable. You can say she does days, so she is better than, I don't know, someone like Ben. Is Ben a support? I have no idea. I have no idea what Ben is. I still don't understand. It's been over 6 months, and I still don't quite get it. Ben's doing his best. He is. I'm doing some hard labor. He does accounting. He does do accounting. He works from the bench. I wish I understood what Ben does. He does some damage. He does some days. He's not super great at any of it. There are people who love Ben. I think that's based. I think he's got a completely unique vibe. I think Ben has a super unique vibe, super unique energy. He's also currently the only character that is Ben-sized. I think there's supposed to be an Obel Squad agent who's Ben-sized. We'll see if that ends up coming to pass. He's funny. He's charming. I can't put him any higher. Grace, you can play her with Miyabi. Is Grace a supporter or DPS? I really also don't know. People say they like Grace more than Anby for Harumasa. If you don't have Qingyi, I don't know if I believe them. Sokaku is really good for Miyabi Lycaon. She's really, really good for Miyabi Lycaon. You build her with Anomaly Mastery on slot 6, and you have to kind of know how to play the team. If you're able to freeze chain correctly, you can actually get a lot of damage out of it, and really, really strong performance. I don't know if I want to put Sokaku on the same tier as Qingyi, but it's a very good team. It's currently a very, very good team. There have been M0 Miyabi butcher kills with Sokaku Lycaon for reference on how good it actually is. It's really, really good. Caesar buffs less than someone like Lighter. Her buffs are similar to Qingyi. Her buffs are similar to Trigger. Caesar buffs less than Astra. Caesar only buffs the on-field character. Caesar gives you a shield, and Caesar does daze damage with her defensive assist and assist follow-up. I think I'm willing to put Caesar on top because of the shield. If Caesar didn't have the shield, if Caesar did not have the shield, she's here. But since she does, I think she's here. Is that a hot take? Shield only feels relevant for tower. Okay, but that's fine. You also currently only have one Astra. We do need more options. Maybe we're gonna have the thing that happened last time I made a tier list, which is where people complain that the best character doesn't have their own tier. Maybe Astra deserves her own tier. She probably does, but we're gonna go with it. I think the shield is good enough. I think the shield as quality of life is good enough to elevate Astra. Not Astra, to elevate Caesar. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna pretend. No. She's got a shield. The shield, if you're dependent on Caesar's shield for something like tower, Caesar up. When Fizz weak content becomes more relevant and Caesar's days becomes important again, Caesar up. Right now, Caesar here. Oh yeah, the other problem with Caesar is her ult is quite bad. Not even quite bad, it's very bad. This is a problem for defense characters in general, where their ultimates are almost useless. They don't do enough daze damage, they don't do enough damage, so they're really hard to justify using. There is a character with a much worse ult. His name is Seth. And his ult is terrible. It's terrible. Don't use Seth's ult, please. Seth is a anomaly support agent, very similar to Rina. So we're gonna talk about Seth and Rina at the same time. Rina she buffs pen ratio and she buffs shock anomaly. Her buffs are very low uptime. Her buffs are technically easy to top up, but they're low uptime, so you do need to top them up frequently. Rina also has this thing called an evasive assist, which is fine. There are great evasive assists. Zhu Yuan comes to mind as a great evasive assist. Oh my god, Rina's evasive assist makes me not want to play her. Oh my god. God. You just don't do anything. So when you use Seth, you do have the window to activate one of his attacks and then still quick assist back to the character you want a quick assist to apply his buffs. So if you do a defensive assist with Seth, you can hold basic or hold EX and then still quick assist back to your DPS, and that'll apply Seth's debuff. That is the tech to make Seth more useful. He does apply some shock anomaly. I've seen at least one run of Seth DPS for Typhon because he does give himself his own AP buff. It does work. It cleared. Seth specifically buffs AP, so you can't cope with Seth for attack teams the same way you can with Rina. I don't think Rina's very good in attack teams anyway. People are really attached to the idea of mono electric with Rina for agents like Harumasa and Silver Soldier, potentially. I recently put out a Silver Soldier video on what I expect to be good with her, and there were more than a few comments asking, hey, what about Rina? Here's the problem with Rina. She buffs less than Nicole. She just doesn't buff enough, okay? Look, she kind of just doesn't buff enough. She doesn't do enough. She's also kind of a pain in the ass. Should Seth go down? I'm fine with Rina here. Should Seth go down? Just because he's a little bit more niche and he's technically not best in slot? Nah, he's better than Koleda. He's better than Koleda. I would not be comfortable moving Rina up, ever. I don't think she does enough. Astra specifically buffs crit damage and attack. And Rina's shock buff and pen buff are just worse for Yanagi. Like, what? She just doesn't buff enough. If she changed stun or shock duration to 6 seconds instead of 3, or to +6 instead of +3 for more disorder damage? Maybe, but she just doesn't do enough. Sokaku, better. Okay, the problem with Sokaku, she's great with 2 characters. One of them is Miyabi, but Miyabi has so many team options. Is Sokaku up here for Miyabi alone? And is Lycaon as good? I don't think being niche is a downside, but I think being useful for specifically one use case. Okay, this is the same thing for later. So yeah, fine. Honestly, it's the same argument as later. Sokaku and Lycaon, yeah, they're fine up here. If you're thinking this applies to Ellen, it does not. It's for Miyabi. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ellen. Ellen is like provably the game's most popular character. Okay, I'm sorry. It's hard to play Ellen. It's actively difficult to play Ellen in a lot of content. And it's really unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate. Lucy's down here. Lucy kind of got her lunch eaten by Astra. More so than Caesar, more so than Sokaku, more so than Qingyi, more so than Rina. I think the character who got hit the hardest by Astra is Lucy. Yeah, I'm going with that. Maybe they make a DPS or a future agent who spams EX special damage the same way that Piper does. But for now, I think Lucy is not fantastic. She got her engine, her teams, her house, her keys, and her helmet stolen. I get, like, okay, the thing about Lucy is she does more damage than Astra. Lucy does, I think it might be double Astra's damage. Fortunately, that's not very relevant. Might even be more. It's just not very relevant right now. So yeah, you could make an argument for Lucy up. I don't think I'm going to. Yeah, I just don't think I'm going to. Piper can be played as a support. She is like the free option for Miyabi if you don't have Sokaku Lycaon. She also directly acts as a support in her teams where she is a DPS. Piper gives damage bonus, and she also gets damage out of Lucy. Because she gives damage bonus, she makes Burnice do more damage. I think Burnice as a support, Jane and Piper are really dependent on Burnice to be performative. So if I were to place Burnice like as a support who does damage instead of buffs, I think I'm gonna put her here. Burnice is also a tech option for Miyabi Astra instead of Yanagi or Nicole. If an enemy has a fire weakness in like a lightning resistance, you can play Yanagi Burnice. Yeah, I'm gonna put Burnice here. Just because I think there are DPS agents who are dependent on her to be the best that they can be. So I would put Burnice here as a support. I believe that's all the support agents. If you want to argue Astra should have her own tier, you know what? That's fair enough. That's really fair enough. I can't disagree. I really can't disagree. She could have her own tier. Nicole is free. Have I mentioned that? And then even though Astra gives some characters more damage than Nicole, in a lot of CU content, you can prefer Nicole anyway. This is specifically a thing for Harumasa and Zhu Yuan. The grouping is really, 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 really useful for characters with small hitboxes. I can't stress it enough. Nicole is really hard to play. Until we get more supports, we're gonna give Astra her own tier. She's just useful on too many teams. She is the character that you wish you had multiples of. Yeah, we'll go with it.